Great to be back doing another Get to Know Your Customer section for CoverNet. I'm delighted to be joined today by Kirsty Campbell from Prestige. Kirsty, welcome. How are you today?
Very good, Jim. How are you?
Very well. I'm delighted to have you here. As you know, you might have seen the format before. Just a few questions related to insurance, and then a few more fun questions, I hope, about you, getting to know you, Kirsty. So we'll start off with the boring insurance ones. Maybe you'd like to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've been doing over the last few years in insurance.
So I'm Kirsty Campbell, as Jim said. I have worked in insurance for more years than I probably care to admit. Let's just say it's over 20. So it's been a long time. I started off working for a broker, and I've worked for a few brokers in my time. Basically, starting from doing some underwriting referrals, then into some testing, some project management, looking after the insurers. So when I came to Prestige, that was the first time I've ever worked for an MGA. So I was on the other side of the fence, which was very different. So yes, it's kind of where I've been throughout my insurance career, mainly broker, and then moved over to MGA. And as you know, my role at Prestige is a bit of a varied and mixed role. So I look after all regions and basically all new and existing developments across all our personal lines business. And also look after our software houses and some of our third-party data suppliers. So I wear a few hats at Prestige.
Many hats, a busy lady. And yes, we're lucky enough to be one of the software houses that you deal with. So I suppose the industry is changing more than ever before, really. What with the amount of new regulations that are coming in, and I suppose the fight for capacity, which that has brought to the MGA market. If you could make 3 changes to the industry, would you have 3 that you would suggest?
I've probably got a couple. So I think one of the things you mentioned there was regulation. I feel like there is the amount of regulation that I would probably change in the industry. Now, we totally all understand why it's there and why it's been brought in. It's to protect our consumers, and I suppose help consumers understand, how the industry works more. But sometimes it just feels like there's too much regulation and common sense takes a back seat at times. But I think that was definitely one of the things I would change. One of the other things I would probably change is like simplification of the industry. It feels like, as years have gone on, as I mentioned, I have worked in insurance for a long time, that everything's much more complex. Everything takes much more time. There's so many moving parts. It felt like years ago, everything was much simpler and you could, deliver something from start to finish much quicker, much simpler. So I think I would like to change that as well. And I think probably the only other thing I would maybe change is, when the governing bodies bring in changes, especially the larger changes, it feels like they're always very quick to want them in place, and they don't really take the time, especially for yourselves, the amount of time a software house can take to put a change in, the amount of work it goes on in the background. So I think maybe a bit more consideration about how the industry actually works and, how long things take would be good, would be a good change as well.
Yeah, well, from our side of the house, yes, I would agree. I mean, we've had a couple of regulations that have come in. I suppose in the Irish market last year with SICA, there was a relatively short window to implement that, and it was impacting every customer we had. So it is very challenging. Yeah, those are 2 good points. Do you think obviously Prestige has done really well with its broker customers? It's really highly rated in how it manages its brokers. Do you think that you'll ever lose that direct connections with the brokerages as more and more goes into software houses, or is that still going to be a key part of the business for Prestige?
No, I think that's a really key part and a key focus for us. We have dedicated teams that look after the brokers. We keep very close contact with the brokers, and I think a lot of the brokers like us, with being a bit of a smaller business, as in the MG size, instead of the big players in the market. There's always someone at Prestige you can talk to. You can get to the right person. I would like to think we were quite agile and deliver solutions to brokers quickly.
Yeah, very good. You've mentioned there that you've many hats in your current role. If you were to look for, please don't, Kirsty, please don't. But if you were to look for another job or another career, what would it be?
So I would probably look for a career to do with animals. I probably shouldn't admit this in a relationship role, but I actually prefer animals to people, which probably doesn't sound very good. But yeah, I'm probably a vet or, something to do with animals, definitely.
That's good. Well, did you enter? I know Prestige had their own doggy competition recently for everyone to submit entries to that. Do you have a couple of dogs at home? Is that right?
I've got one, but yes, she made it onto the Prestige competition. Yes, she was out there on LinkedIn.
Very good. So she got to the shortlist then?
She did. She did. It might have helped that I had a castle in my picture in the background, so it might have got some votes.
Very good. Okay. So maybe a little bit about you then. Obviously, you've mentioned you like animals, but how do you typically spend your spare time or your weekends? Does the dog come into that a little bit as well?
Yes, the dog does come into that, yes. So I've got one dog, as I said, called Roxy. So, I spend quite a lot of time walking the dog, whether it's locally or taking a trip to the beach, weather dependent, living in Scotland, obviously, Jim, but you'll be the same over in Ireland.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah. I also like going to the gym, and I probably going back to my Scottish roots, I do like a drink or two. So there's usually some wine involved at the weekends.
Well, it makes them go quicker, makes the week go quicker as well, I think. So weather dependent, I presume the walks still happen, whether it's sunny or not. I think is it the Scandinavians say there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing. So
Very
inappropriate
true.
clothing.
You need the right clothing for dog walking, definitely.
That's it. Do you live outside Glasgow? Is that right?
Yeah, so I live in a Falkirk, which is kind of in the middle of Glasgow and Edinburgh, so in the central belt of Scotland. I am.
Has it developed over here? We've got quite a few dog-friendly pubs where you can take the dog in and go for a wee drink on the weekend. Do you have anywhere local like that where you can combine your hobbies?
Yes, so there's a few local pubs that take dogs in. I think it's becoming more of a thing, and do you think it's maybe because of after lockdown that lots of people got dogs? So I think a lot more businesses have opened up because obviously there's a higher demand for it.
I think so. We had a local cafe which has started doing dog drinks for them, which I thought was lovely until I bought one, which was almost the same price as the human drinks. So the dog can just get a drink of water next time.
At £8.50.
That's it. Yeah. Don't like the furry friend that much. Okay. Little question now about how your best friend or partner might describe you.
Oh, this is one that annoys me. So my partner would describe me rather annoyingly as a good housewife. No one wants to be known for being good at cleaning, but unfortunately I am, which is not great. I would also say that they would probably say I was clumsy. I'm very clumsy. I can never remember where I've put anything. I'm always losing my keys, for example. I'm a bit of a nightmare.
Does that not sort of contradict each other? Do you not always find the keys while you're cleaning up and doing the housework?
What I do is I put them in a safe space because they're in my way.
You tidy them away, yeah.
Yes, and there's so many safe spaces in Kirsty's head that nobody knows where anything is.
My wife does exactly the same thing. We have whole drawers of things that have just been tidied away. So things we'll never ever see again.
Yeah, never to be seen again.
That's it. But at least they're clean. If you're having a dinner party and could invite 3 celebrities, who would you invite, Kirsty?
So I would say I'm not a big celebrity fan, and I had been thinking about this, and I was thinking, oh, maybe the Queen or a royal aide, because I'd quite like to know what is actually going on in the royal family, and what's actually the truth. However, seeing the news this morning, I think Will Smith and Chris Rock might be quite good ones to invite along, given that there was a bit of controversy at the Oscars. So yeah, that might be an interesting dinner party.
That would be a good one. Just keep them at other sides of the table, maybe.
Yeah, I wonder if Will got annoyed because his wife was going to be angry that he was laughing along at the beginning, or if just because Chris Rock's comments were, not very PC and could be quite offensive to poor Jada. So we'll see.
I think so, yeah. But it did take about 45 seconds to decide they were offensive. So I wonder, was there a kick underneath the table to get him up there? But he certainly, I mean, it was quite a swing, wasn't it?
It was, yes. Maybe it's just my mind, but I always wonder if these things are PR stunts as well. Maybe that's just me.
Well, I did wonder, was it a proper Hollywood punch? Because it did seem to move backwards while it was coming in, but certainly made it a lot more entertaining than normal. And then our final question: if you were to win the lotto, what would you spend it on? And the second part of that, would you still work? Would I still see you on a Tuesday call, Kirsty?
Well, that's quite a hard one, isn't it, Jim? So I think the first thing I would do was jet off somewhere nice so I could think about my options. I would love to say I would come back. I suppose it would depend on how much. But let's be truthful, probably not. But yeah, I really actually like cars, so I would probably first purchase would probably be a couple of nice cars.
Okay. Are you a little bit of a petrol head? Are you interested in the snazzy motors?
Yes. But, electric cars, I probably shouldn't say this, but they don't really make the same noise as petrol cars, so I'm not sure how I feel about that, being a bit of a petrol head, so we will see.
Very good. Well, from my own point of view, I hope that you don't win the lottery, because it'd be a shame to have to say goodbye to you if you didn't decide to stay on. But listen, thanks so much for joining us.
Jim. I could give you $1 million or $2 million and you could do the same.
Well, if that's the deal, then by all means, please feel free to win the lottery. And listen, thanks a million for joining us today, and appreciate we've had a few technical issues to get to this point. So this isn't the first time that you've been prepared to answer questions with me on camera. So let's hope I remember to press the record button today. But Kirsty, thanks a million, and we'll look forward to catching up again soon. Cheers.
Great, thank you, Jim.